Top of the morning to you. It's Thursday the 29th of May 2025, and this is a subject that really irks me. Bank closures. And the immediate question I'm asking is, what happened to customer service? Do we not count anymore? Does the customer not count anymore? And it appears so. And it appears in particular that the elderly have been largely debankified over the past 10 years. I don't know if there is such a word, mind you. Over the past year especially, but right up the last 10 years, banks have taken it upon themselves to close. Are these closures justified? Well, any bank I used to go to, they're always, you had to wait to go to the counter. But now banks are telling us, and have been telling us, and this is their main excuse, there's a fall in customers coming to the bank. Footfall has fallen dramatically. This is what the banks have been selling us and telling us. And in some cases they might be correct, but I can't believe this. Most people over 60 that I know struggle with online banking. They want to get to a bank to talk to someone face to face, and you can't find a bank that's open anymore. The numbers of banks in Northern Ireland and the numbers of banks in Belfast, you could count them on one hand. You can't get to them because the bank that we go to down at Queen's there's nowhere to park. There's double yellow lines. There's no multi-storey car park anywhere near. So to get out, if you're buying a new car, for instance, you want to pay cash, or you're buying second hand, cash is king, and people like cash. So if you're looking for £5,000, say, to buy a second hand car, and you need to get to the bank to get that pretty pronto, and of course you have to give them about 3 days notice to get your own money. To do that, you have to have two people to drive down to the bank, one person to stay in the car and park on a yellow, because that's all that's there, and the other person to get into the bank and come out again with the money. And if you live a distance away from Belfast, because all the banks in all the peripheral towns and villages have shut. They're shut. You can't get to them anymore. They're not there. So your only option is to come to Belfast, and you'll spend a morning or more getting a bank transaction like this done. This is scandalous. Other people, younger people have got their heads around phone banking, mobile phone banking, but elderly people and vulnerable people and people who are a bit slow like me, I couldn't tell you one. I have no idea as regards phone banking, and my wife, who's actually pretty good on the mobile phone, even she struggles with it. You ask anybody whether they find online banking, a breeze. It's not. And, old people, well, anybody over 60, we're suspicious. And there are so many scams going on. And how, if you're on the phone to your bank, how do you actually know whether it is your bank? Because we have had phone calls in the last month purporting to be from our bank, and they weren't. It was a scam. And these people were very convincing, and they had access to information that you wouldn't have expected them to have. And this information actually was giving them a certain degree of credibility. And, all you need to do is take the next step and divulge further information, and you will find your bank money depleted very, very quickly. They'll scam you and lift it. So, there are all sorts of reasons why elderly people in particular, and elderly people are a growing population in the UK, 30%, 40% of bank customers have to be over 60, and a huge majority of them have difficulty with mobile phones. But you also look at a whole lot of other things pertaining to bank closures. You close a bank in a small village, you will find that an awful lot of the business of that small village, the local stores and all the rest of it, who are dependent on cash, they struggle. Everybody wanted a local bank. And the same thing in towns. The heart has been ripped out of so many towns. Commerce is gone on the main street of most towns because the banks are closing and have closed. And this is not, the general public aged 60 and over are totally against this, and yet we are being fed the lie by banks that this is the public are in favour of bank closures, and the public are quite happy to use the mobile phone, and the public are quite happy to stand in a queue and down at their local Spar or wherever where that has a post office, and stand in a queue and discuss their financial transactions with somebody who isn't a bank worker. Yeah, I'm not. What are our MLAs saying about this? Zero. Nothing. They're supposed to be representatives of the people, voted in by the people, and they are supposed to reflect public opinion and public grievance and annoyance. We hear plenty about flags, we hear plenty about potholes, we hear plenty about Irish language signage. Well, and nobody is talking about bank closures amongst our MLAs. Why is this? What's going on? Nobody at Westminster is mentioning bank closures and the difficulties that all these bank closures bring to our elderly and vulnerable. What happens when someone in the family dies? And you need to get their financial transactions and their finances all sorted out. You need to talk to somebody. How do you do that? You can't do that on the mobile phone. Number one, you don't know who you're talking to. Number two, you need a face-to-face encounter because some of these, the ramifications of someone passing away, and are you trying to deal with their finances, or someone trying to deal with their finances and wills and everything else, you need to talk to somebody face to face. And you can't do it. You try phoning a bank and see how easy it is. This is nuts. Why are our MLAs and MPs not standing up for the people? Why are even our churchmen silent on this and saying, look, this is unfair. You're actually, and the word I'll use again, you're debankifying people. You're taking the ability for people to access, taking it away. You're taking away the ability for elderly people especially to access their own money with ease and confidence. And you're creating a major worry. So banks are closing left, right and centre, and have closed left, right and centre. And as I say, they're citing falling footfall. Okay. But now we've got towns right across Northern Ireland of 20,000 people or thereabouts, and they've got no bank. No bank. You know, from having 7 or 8 banks 10 years ago, no banks, no bank left. Could they not have clubbed together? Okay, except that there's a falling footfall. Could they not have clubbed together and arranged to have one bank hub in such a town, so that people could have face-to-face access with someone with banking knowledge? But they couldn't do that. Closed all the banks. So it's a banking desert out there, unless you travel to Derry, Londonderry or Belfast. They couldn't have kept one bank in each large town and had representatives from 2 or 3 of the banks working in it, or maybe more. And this is just ridiculous. Just totally ridiculous. And they're expecting us to operate on our mobile phones, and some people don't even have mobile phones. Some of the elderly folks and other elderly folks can't use them to do online banking, and vulnerable people certainly can't use them. And they're expecting us to do our transactions at the local SPAR in the post office, and we're expected to use the ATMs, which are being constantly broken into and disrupted. And as I say, nobody in government, nobody in Stormont is saying a word about this. Nobody anywhere is saying a word about this except YouTubers and talk radio. What's going on? I'm just watching these guys, and they're saying that AI can now, with 5 seconds of your voice, can replicate thousands of words using your voice by means of AI. This is how advanced the technology is. Now this leads the whole setup to be wide open to scams. And you can understand why people are reticent to use the phone to either talk through a bank transaction or use online banking, digital. The whole, it's just so open. But my main line of attack is that so many people over 60 who are not fluent in mobile phone are being debankified, and nobody is standing up for them. Nobody is speaking for them. Where's the age commissioner? Commissioner for the elderly. What have they ever said about the push for online banking? It is quite interesting too. If you go and pay for a carry-out anywhere now, they're asking for cash. because there are overheads whenever they take you pay by card. Customer service, banks don't care about us. That's basically it. And there's not a lot you can do about it, because nobody is speaking up about this and standing up for those who don't want to use online banking. Here's a wee clip from the RTE News of 3 years ago, and it's talking about Bank of Ireland has closed more than a third of its branches. That was back then. Dear knows how many more branches that they've closed. And they're talking and saying 88 branches around the country have shut their doors for the final time. So I would reckon it's, an awful lot more branches. But here's a lot of interesting information.
But the removal of ATM facilities outside several branches and limited business banking options through the post office have led to criticism.
The Financial Services Union says these closures highlight weak regulation. It's also expressed concern at the impact the withdrawal of services will have on communities around the country.
I think there's a progression towards digitisation, but I don't think everybody is moving at the same pace. And I think there's still a requirement for a branch network in the country.
The withdrawal of services from rural towns makes the task of driving investment, attracting workers, or developing infrastructure all the harder. And the loss of interaction with local staff in local branches will be keenly felt.
I think it's sad there, yeah. It's one of the main things, isn't it? You've got the library, you've got the bank, and you've got the shop here, the shops and a few little bars, etc. It's part of the day-to-day life. So we've just lost a bit of the heart of the village.
Pat McGrath, RTE News, Ballyhaunis, County Mayo.